Welcome back to the Constitutionals Podcast. I'm your host, Chad White. If you didn't know, this is the premier podcast for the website, cpluscomedy.com. Like I just said, it's a website. Go there. Welcome back to the very first episode of this show. Okay, well, just got an email that I did not get a job that I applied for. So there you go. Thank you, Georgia Public Broadcasting. You know, you work in television for so many years. They tell you to get experience. That you finally get experience, and then they don't want you. They make things up. I'm hunched over in the latest version of the studio to this show, I got to start this timer. And I didn't do an episode for 2 weeks. I did plan, even though I did plan out 2 episodes, and then I just didn't do them because 1, I moved. And then 2, after I moved, I said, you know what? I can take a week off. This is not news time. There does not need to be a weekly episode. Also, there wasn't really much news, and so I felt easy doing it. And then fast forward to last week, I was planning on doing an episode, and I had the same news that was still pretty timely, and I decided, you know what? Not in the mood. And here we are, 2 weeks later. I have finally sat down to record episode 173, I believe, or 4. One of those numbers for this podcast here in the new apartment, the new studio. If you've seen the last 2 news times, they were shot in this area I'm calling the studio, which is my dining room, which is filled. One wall is filled with a bunch of stuff for shooting. Another wall is filled with a wire rack with food, a typewriter, and extra electronics on it, and then the wall directly behind me just has like a printer and some miscellaneous tax information and papers and stuff in my book bag. So there you go. That's all the stuff you're not missing out here. So I lose a bedroom, gain a dining room, and pay a lot more money than what I was paying before. But here we are recording this show. So let's get moving. And start talking about some stuff. So the first story I have to talk about is something I think I'm going to do next week's News Time on. This comes from The Hollywood Reporter, written by Scott Feinborg. Film Academy sets inclusion requirements for Oscars will take full effect in 2024. Okay, so as if you follow any type of awards chatter, you know that the Academy has been looking for the Academy of Arts and Sciences, Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, has been looking to fill some sort of inclusion. They're trying to hop some sort of inclusion barrier when it comes to their award ceremonies and shows and movies and the stuff they accept and stuff. And, you know, just since the dawn of these awards, anything that's any movie, most movies that win aren't really inclusive. And the ones that are inclusive, in quotes, are typically tend to be the ones that kind of have, you know, a star that's a white savior coming to save the poor person of color or woman of color that just needs help. Read Green Book. Crash is one of those. I think Crash is the most made fun of one of those Oscar winners. Moonlight, I would definitely say, is one of those stuff that just has an important message. And, you know, I find that those are the movies that just typically fade into obscurity. I always think about this, and I definitely would love to write a movie to win an Oscar one day. But the movies that typically win Best Picture or something like that, those are the ones that are on, you know, the deepest trenches of Netflix that never get watched or rewatched again. No one ever sits down and says, I got to rewatch Schindler's List. And like, no one's sitting down to rewatch that. No one's like, I got to see Moonlight again. But it's the movies that are surrounding it, the ones that people tend to watch and rewatch. Like somebody's going to rewatch, I was going to say Spider-Man Far From Home, but, you know, all right, fine. Spider-Man Far From Home. So, like, I can totally see people rewatching that, but I can't see, you know, more than 1 or 2 watches on Schindler's List or Crash or Moonlight or anything like that. Because even as, you know, complex and serious as those movies tend to be, they come off as one note, more or less. I mean, and that's not to say those movies are, quote unquote bad or anything, but they're just not. God, I don't want to say timeless either, but they just don't have that rewatchability, Like, except for Parasite, I do want to see Parasite again. I do think that movie is truly one of it, and that's why, because Parasite is just, yeah, it has the themes and messages of the elite versus the poor, but it still tells this story that hasn't been seen before, and it does a fine job of doing it as well. So anyway, let's get on with the story. I've been talking for like 3 minutes straight on that one. So starting basically around 2024, these inclusion standards, they're called the Academy Inclusion Standards, are going to be a part of it. But there's going to be, in the meantime, an Academy Inclusion Standards form will have to be submitted to the Academy for a film to be considered for the 94th Oscars, recognizing films from 2021 released after February 28, and the 95th Oscars, recognizing films from 2021, although meeting inclusion thresholds will not be yet a requirement. So there are thresholds, there are reasons why they're doing this. So it's a long list. So bear in mind, this is going to take a long time, probably the rest of this segment. So starting with the 96 Oscars in 2024, a film will have to meet at least 2 of the 4 of the following standards in order to be eligible for Best Picture. So this is stuff that they have to meet, at least 2 of these. All right, so standard A is on-screen representation, themes, and narratives. So you basically there's tiers within the standards. So there's 4 standards, and then you have to meet 2 of those tiers, basically. Two of either 4, whatever. Not. So you can meet standard A, you can meet A1 in standard A, and B2 in standard B, and that's 2. There, that's how you explain that. Okay, so this is on-screen representation, themes, and narratives for standard A. To achieve standard A, the film must meet one of the following criteria. You have to have A1, lead or significant supporting actors, which includes people of color. A2, general ensemble cast. At least 30% of all actors are women, some type of ethnic group, LGBTQ, or people with disabilities. So you have to have at least 2 of those for 30%. And then A3, main storyline / subject matter covers is centered on the underrepresented groups, which are women, LGBTQ, ethnic groups, or people with disabilities. So from those, you have to have the representation of people of color, women, the queer community, or people with disabilities, which is just, I'll get into this with the news time stuff, but when I do news time, but it's not. It's a big sweeping thing, but it's also leaving a little bit broad. When I think, and I don't say broad in a bad way. I mean, I think it's broad and it's a very good broadness. In terms of, you can have an Alaskan Native woman and somebody in a wheelchair that are part of your cast, and they're not just shoehorned in there. They don't, and it's not part of their identity. The woman thing isn't an identity thing. The wheelchair isn't their identity. It just happens to be a part of the character. Also, it's very interesting that I think that the picture in this article. Oh, never mind. There's one article that has the picture. I think it might be the Vox article or the New York Times version of this that has Robert De Niro and Al Pacino from that movie Scorsese did. Patton. No, wait, what's it called? that movie that just came out, Irishman. And that movie had all white guys in it. So as much as I like Scorsese, he always makes movies with white guys. Same thing for Little Women director. She does that. Greta Gerwig. She only makes movies for white women. White women are going to be fine. They're going to, just like white guys, are going to be fine. Standard B, creative leadership and project team. To achieve standard B, the film must meet one of the criteria below. The creative leadership and department heads, so at least two people from the heads of the departments, such as casting directors or producers, production designers, makeup, one of those have to be women, ethnic group, LGBTQ, or people with disabilities. And then at least one of the positions must belong to the following underrepresented groups, which includes, the Asians, Latin people. I'm not gonna say Latinx because that's stupid. Black, and so on and so forth. And then there's B2, other key roles. At least 6 other crew/team and technical positions, excluding the PAs, are from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group. Yes. So that's trying to get the crew. So if in front of the camera was standard A, was the A standards, then B standards are behind the camera. And then B3, overall crew composition. At least 30% of the film's crew must be part of women, ethnic groups, LGBTQ, or the disabilities. Great. So in front of the camera, we have this inclusion, and behind the camera, we have this inclusion. This is going to be wonderful just to force studios' hands at hiring different types of people, because you're always going to have no shortage of white guys with beards and glasses all trying to be a PA or be a gaffer, or they're all those guys are gonna look the same. They're all gonna hang out. They're all gonna know each other. But when you have the queer people trying to produce, when you have people with disabilities trying to do makeup, when you have women who want to cast. If you want to be an Allison Jones, you can be an Allison Jones. You have to be a woman. She's one of the best casting directors out there. Standard C, industry access and opportunities. So to achieve standard C, you have to meet both. Here's a little twist. Both of these criteria. C1 is a paid apprenticeship and internship opportunity. So basically just opening up your company to women, ethnic group people, LGBTQ, and people with disabilities. And then C2, training opportunities and skills development. So you open up for the internship, and then at some point you're going to turn those small people into bigger fish in the pond ecosystem out there. So that would be good to see. And then D, audience development. The film must meet this criteria. There's only one criteria for D. Representation and marketing, publicity, and distribution. I believe last year there was a big hubbub about how Netflix chose the pictures for its TV shows and its movies. If you look, no one person's Netflix is going to look the same as the next person's Netflix queue and all that stuff. And you'll see, how sometimes if you load up the app, you'll see like, I don't know, Warrior Nun. Is that a show? Warrior Nun has a different photo each time. That changes and is based on the algorithm and all this stuff. But Nicole Byer on Nailed It, I think the picture for Nailed It only featured Jacques Torres and I think the line producer Wes, and it didn't feature her even though she's the main host. And people, like, she mentioned it, but then people like took it to a whole nother level. I was like, this is racist. Netflix is racist. And no, it's just the algorithm. And Netflix looked into it and said, we're sorry for this. And, we'll change it and all that stuff. But it is an algorithm. And so when you have, and then let me tell you another thing. I'm sorry. What's Steven Soderbergh's movie? Get Lucky? Is that what it's called? What is Steven Soderbergh's with Adam Driver? That's it. Logan Lucky. Logan Lucky was heavily marketed throughout the South and the NASCAR regions, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, all those areas, in the Bible Belt too. But it was like only, kind of partially, it was still regularly advertised in the places without NASCAR, and it was mostly heavily advertised in the NASCAR regions because it's a movie about NASCAR. but it's a NASCAR heist. So you have to be able to, and so with that, they knew what they were targeting. So with this audience development, you have to be able to target everybody. Everybody. It's not saying don't go for your regular target audience, which the NASCAR people are going to want to see Logan Lucky. But for this, it's also saying make sure that. Oh wait, hold on. Am I wrong? Oh, okay. Well, I just told two stories. I had nothing to do with this. It's just saying the people this is D1 audience development, representation in marketing and publicity and distribution is saying that in-house senior executives from among the following underrepresented groups on their marketing, publicity, and or distribution teams. So just make sure your team is diverse. But that still stands. If you're gonna market somewhere, market right, but then also market for everybody else. Hey, look, I like to be wrong. Those are the eligibility requirements that we'll see going forward. This is going to there's going to be different requirements for different categories too. But this is going to be, in 3 years is too short of a time, but I guess all the movies that are going to be up even next year are already being made or already made. So this is interesting. I do think it is a good way to get people in there, but I don't know if it's going to be a force of change, and if it's going to be a meaningful force of change, wherein that the Oscars are the movies nominated for Best Picture are already kind of soapy, with what's that movie Green Book? It's already kind of soapy. And heavy-handed and stuff and white savory. So I can only imagine the movies that come from that. Listen, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll get the second half of this show. Let's go to a break, baby. Okay, here we go. Let's go right now. It's loading. And this is embarrassing. All right, this is usually where the music would go. So... And we're back to the show. The bad part about sitting over here is I don't have a monitor anymore, and the camera I'm using is still extremely old. So I don't know if I'm in focus. I can't see myself, so I have to look into the lens of the camera without knowing that I look good. And also, the camera doesn't focus too good. I can't see myself. And the camera stops recording at 15 minutes. So I got to hurry this crap up and stop telling stupid stories. All right, let's move on. There's a story about advertisers looking to digital TV to make up for losses during the pandemic that I was going to talk about. Guidelines for... Okay, so here, let's do this one. TV shows are getting back into production, which is good. Movies are getting back to production too. But there are protocols, thanks to the coronavirus pandemic, there are protocols that we now have to follow in order to get these shows and movies to look good. I know why I'm all mixed up today is because I thought I had a therapy appointment, but I didn't. It's next week. We took a week off. Just talking to her way too much. I'm like, oh. She's like, just stop talking about your failed relationships. So, and funnily enough, The Mandalorian really set the tide. So this one comes from Sarah Whitten over at CNBC. Technology used to film The Mandalorian could ease COVID-19 film production woes. Again, I don't know if I mentioned this. It's the coronavirus pandemic. The coronavirus is the thing that causes COVID-19. You don't catch COVID-19. Wait, the flu is the disease. Yeah. Okay. Well, the coronavirus is the thing that causes it. So I'm not going to call it the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm calling it the coronavirus pandemic. Coronavirus is cooler. The ongoing coronavirus pandemic has crippled film production in the U.S., causing shooting delays and hindering widespread travel. There's an LED technology that's been developed for the Disney Plus series Mandalorian that could aid production. And Atlanta's own Pinewood Studios is going to bring it to their productions. There's a team So there are giant LED video walls that I guess help the team. Let me see. The technical innovation from the veteran special effects house doesn't just place a static image on screen; it moves the 3D image in time with the movement of the camera, thus creating a seamless background that acts like the real location. So instead of a green screen, it's kind of like a practical, not practical. Yeah, it's like a practical green screen. For the Mandalorian, this become particularly important because of the main character's metal armor. That's really interesting. Had green screen been used, the post-production team would have had to edit out the green shine of his armor and replace it with a virtual image of his surroundings. Wow. And so the technology is called stagecraft. And so I guess it just makes it easier for them to do this stuff live on hand. They used a similar technology on Westworld. That is so neat. I really do think that is one of the cooler things. But that doesn't mean that every single Washington Post emails me way too much about the deals they have. Doesn't mean it can be used on every single type of film and TV show out there. But it does bode well for shows like Star Trek Discovery and other sci-fi shows that really need that type of technology. So there are some guidelines to coming back. Even though there's technology in place for them to come back, there's guidelines. This comes from CNBC, also written by Sarah Whitten. Los Angeles is ready to resume TV and film production. Here are the guidelines for the people on set. So, you're allowed to start. Obviously, this is back in June. This is articles from back in June. So you're allowed to start, but production basically started now. So you have to have a big plan to go in. LA County has strict rules, which include health checks, social distancing, and the use of personal protective equipment on set. So basically, wear a mask, stand 6 feet apart, and only 25% of the space can be filled. For actors who cannot wear face coverings while performing, the rule suggests that they should remain 8 feet apart from others. Actors should apply their own makeup. Craft services buffets are not permitted, and all food services must be single-serving items. Wow. And then insurance, obviously. If you're going to go back, your insurance is going to go through the roof. Now, I'm finishing up the most recent season of Hard Knocks on HBO, the football series that chronicles the last few weeks before in preseason and of the NFL football team league and NFL football team league. And one of the two of the teams that they're covering two teams, and it's both LA teams, the Chargers and the Rams, and they show the technology that the guys have to go, the entire team has to go through in order to go to practice and everything. So, like unlike the NBA bubble, they do get to come home, but they still have that same technology where it's an instant scan, or like they get to swab up the nose or the spit in the vial or whatever. They have to wear these bands that say they're too close to people. They have to wear a mask or gaiters to practices and everything and meetings. Meetings are spread apart, super wide, and there are like guys at every other seat and every other table. So those are different ways that the NFL and the MLB, NHL, like everybody, that's the way everybody has been working. So basically TV's implementing that type of stuff. But there's, the shooting permits are already going out, and in LA at least. I know in Atlanta there's some stuff shooting. Yeah, Atlanta's shows are starting to shoot up again. I shouldn't say that. Stars are starting. So the shows. So this comes from Patrick Hypes in Deadline. Los Angeles movie and TV production permits begin to percolate, Film LA says. So there are already shows that were made during the pandemic, such as Freeform's Love in the Time of Corona, which is a show that pisses me off to no end. Because I have not experienced Love in the Time of Corona. I've been alone. And B, how dare they shoot a show that fast and make it look even half as decent as it appears to look, as the trailer makes it look. Netflix, Ryan Murphy's Netflix musical comedy The Prom is coming back, Songbird. So most of these shows, it looks like still photography and commercial permits make up almost half of the incoming activity, which is 44% per Film LA, with music videos 14% and reality TV 8% shoots also beginning to stir. So that's very interesting that the commercials are the things that need to be made as well, or music videos as well. It's funny. Drake is releasing music videos. Everybody's releasing music videos, and I'm seeing these things, and there's two explanations. One, they shot a bunch of this stuff and they held on to it, or two, people are making music videos and they're super rich and they're able to just shoot at their giant mansions and have 40 people come in and 80 women dancers half naked and stuff, and Justin Bieber's there. Like it's crazy. It's crazy how the pop star music video looks. I know that was shot like maybe 3 weeks ago. It cannot have been shot in March. That's insane. Check it out. Atlanta shows is written by Jill Goldsmith. Atlanta production ramp and over at deadline. Production ramp up underway despite surge in COVID-19 cases in the region. Now, very interesting. People in Atlanta seem to think that the pandemic is over. I don't understand. You're throwing parties. You're doing this stuff. A spokesperson for Pinewood Studios Atlanta, which has 18 sound stages, said advanced teams are back. Blackball Studios, with 9 sound stages, had bodies on the ground prepping since Monday. So this is a couple of weeks ago. This article was written in July, so about 2 months ago, almost. So there are movies coming back, shows coming back. Real Housewives of Atlanta, Tyler Perry shows, they're all starting to film. I mean, he has his own stuff, so he has his own place, so he's going to be filmed no matter what. Home Safe, Double Kidnapped. I don't know any of these things that are on the list, but Atlanta's coming back. Even though I don't think our mayor, Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, wants that stuff to come back, but whatever. People are going to do what they're going to do, no matter what. And then coming back is going to be tough. It's going to be extremely hard. Love Island, Big Brother, all that stuff's already coming back. Fargo, late night shows have already been back. I think Fargo had one more episode, but because the season wasn't completed before that infamous week in early March, production was halted and its debut was delayed. Yeah, I think they have one more episode to do. But coming back is going to be super, super expensive. This comes from Variety, written by Kate Arthur and Adam B. Very, two people that I don't know, but I call my good friends. You're going to have to pay people. You're going to have to, again, follow the guidelines. And no one fully understands how this is going to work. And insurance, again, there's going to be, apparently, this is from one studio production chief, 20% increases, as much as 20% increases. And that's on paper. And nothing ever goes well or all completely right on paper when it comes to production and stuff. And there's going to have to be health departments and all that stuff. Insurance is going to be high. They're all coming back at a time when they have to come back. They have to get these things shot. They have to have shows and movies ready to go, and commercials and music videos and ready to go to make money. But there's just no conceivable way for them to hold off on doing this. But then they also have to remain safe and healthy and make sure people are all right. I was going to say something, but you can do it. But it's just going to be tough, and you have to be smart about it. Coming back is, man, watching Conan's show is now shot out of Largo for reasons that I guess Warner Brothers Studios is closed, and you can see, they have like maybe 7 people there that are like on the stage and in the audience area, like cameramen, all that. And then they have like a snack table where you can see the single serve, crackers and like juices and stuff. And while it does seem a little bit depressing to have all this, that little people there, and it's still impressive that this can get off the ground. Seth Meyers came back to his studio and only has like 5 or 6 people in his studio right now doing everything, and everybody else is at home. So yeah, it's going to take some time to get used to, and especially since this is a whole thing. I am glad I did not cover this. But it's gonna be like this for a long time, and even with the vaccine, it's still gonna be, at least 2 years of this. I don't know. I'm not a person who knows this type of stuff. But man, it costs money to stop a show. It costs money to make a show. It costs money to start a show back up. So yeah, listen. I think this is a pretty good effort coming back. I'm sitting here in the new apartment. It's quiet, for now. And knock on wood. And I got Google Wi-Fi. Oh, yeah, I got Google Wi-Fi and Google Fiber. So everything is blazingly fast. Oh, and trust me, I download video games like crazy. I don't. Yeah, this is great. I'm glad to be back doing this show. Hopefully we'll get some, with things coming back up, I'll get some more interviews going. And I'll find my love for life again. Listen, if you like what you heard here, head on over to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where you can see so many interviews, aforementioned interviews with your favorite comedians. You can follow us on, if you want to see a video version of this show, I will get it right one day. Head to youtube.com/cpluscomedy. I really hope and pray that this camera is still recording. If it isn't, then I'll throw up the thing, the place card. Let's see what else is going on. If you want to see the video version of the show, youtube.com/cpluscomedy. And then also on youtube.com/cpluscomedy is our premiere show, News Time. There's 300 plus episodes of our weekly news show where I cover something in the entertainment business world and I break it down for regular people. Yeah, regularities. It's a good show. Check it out. This week's episode is about Mulan and why there's backlash against Mulan. Also, there is a Reflection song parody and then cold open, and it's a music video, and it's great. I've written a lot of songs this year. Check it out. And if you want to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at @cpluscomedy. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at @ChadBlackWhite. Like us on Facebook. Rate, review, subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, especially Apple Podcasts, because that's where the things are. So rate it on there. All right, I'm hanging up. Goodbye. Here we go. Song's going to start at some point. Wow, this is so slow.